This is going to be a spoiler talk of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with a Tarantino fan and a not a fan, not really familiar. I mean, well, you know who he is, you know his movies, you just don't watch them.
Yeah.
And you've only seen Pulp Fiction, and you like it.
It is. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I appreciate his, like, I see the artistry there. I see what he's doing, but I'm not a fan of gore and violence. And you can't get around that in his movies. So I choose not to watch his movies. It's not, I don't think it's bad.
Yeah, you can't get around it. Even this movie, I thought, okay, I don't think there wasn't much violence or gore, I didn't think, and I was like, oh, maybe we won't get a lot. Well, of course, knowing, has to do with the Manson, the murders, all that, I was like, okay, there probably will be gore at the end, which does happen. There is a lot of gore, a lot of violence, almost cartoonish violence, though, which is also another thing with Tarantino, so that's actually, I think a lot of people kind of can stomach it, especially like Kill Bill. That was very over-the-top, cartoonish, anime is what he was going for. So, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of all this blood pouring out. It's just so over-the-top that you can't really take it too serious. And this movie, same thing. Not a lot of blood spurting out, but pretty cartoonish, over-the-top. But yeah, not a lot. It's all saved it all to the end.
Yeah, because throughout I'm like, oh, this is just enjoyable. And I mean, that's really why I was willing to go see it. Because based off the trailer, if I didn't know anything about Tarantino and I saw that trailer, I'd want to see the movie. Mm-hmm. So I tried to look at it that way. Like, okay, the trailer has me. It seems like an interesting movie. In the back of my mind, I'm like, knowing Tarantino, it's going to be gory somewhere and or rapey. Like, it's just good.
Well, when you know Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I know Pulp Fiction.
Well,
I've heard things about other movies. I know plenty about his world. I
guess
haven't watched
a little more rape than Kill Bill, I guess, too. So okay.
Oh, there's some stuff going on. Yeah. Anyways, so wait, where was I going with that?
Speaking of, I don't know. I mean, just talking about his movies, what to expect. I was gonna say you're talking about rapey and all that. One thing you get in this movie, which we'll get here too.
Oh gosh, you're doing so many feet, so much feet. I hate feet.
Yeah,
I'm not a foot person.
Yeah, if you're a person, if you have a foot fetish, I think you'll really enjoy this movie.
Well, I mean, that's his thing already, and just dirty feet. So many dirty feet.
Yeah, he does. The other movies, you may get a shot or two. There's like 4 or 5 of them in this movie.
Just like right in the camera, like so gross. Anyway, so yeah, I went into this willing to watch it because the trailer got me, and then through most of the movie I'm like, yeah, this is pretty enjoyable. It's good acting, a few different stories going on. I guess in a similar sense, Pulp Fiction's kind of similar, different stories going on or whatever, but those stories kind of have some violence throughout, whereas this is all leading up to the violent ending.
Right.
And the violent ending, as gory as it is, and as much as I'm like kind of not fully watching it and kind of halfway looking away, it was really kind of satisfying violence.
That's what I was going to say. It's satisfying.
To me, it was very satisfying violence because, I mean, it's a flip on the events that actually took place, and you want to see these people suffer because you know what they actually did in real life, and it's so awful.
Yeah,
so
I guess
like
we'll get that out of the way. That's probably the biggest spoiler of the movie, which I don't know if it's that much of a spoiler if you know. I mean, you might be expecting it after Inglourious Bastards and what he did with Hitler and that. Mm-hmm. I'm all for it. Like, I'm all for Tarantino, rewriting history in his movies. I mean, if he wants to take on, I don't know what, 9/11 next or something, or I don't know. Like, I'm all for that. Like, that's what he's doing. Was what he did with Inglourious Bastards, and then now this. So yeah, that's the spoiler. The Manson murders don't happen. The dirty hippies actually get murdered and pretty brutally.
Well, this one doesn't happen because they murdered other people, right? Or was that the first one and it was only that group? I don't know that much about them.
Oh yeah, I guess that.
So
Well, that was
the
famous Manson murder.
one.
Yeah, that was the one that was
went after a
got
celebrity.
everyone's attention. Yeah.
Which so he does a good job. We were kind of talking about on the way home of Margot Robbie. She doesn't necessarily have a huge role in this movie, but the role she has is to make us really connect with Sharon,
right,
and to really root for her and feel so bad that you know what might be coming.
Which she doesn't have a lot of lines, and I remember seeing that somewhere. Real quick, I remember seeing something where people were complaining. They're like, "Why didn't Tarantino give her more lines or a bigger part? Like she's a star on the rise." Like, well, she picked this part. That's the part. And she really doesn't have a lot of lines, but you really like feel for her. Like. Even like I guess probably where you connect the most is when she's watching her own movie and she's not talking. She's just like so reacting, smiling, looking around and enjoying like all the audience and laughing at her jokes in the movie. And so you really
you don't want her to die.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And then the next time you see her, she's huge pregnant. You're like, fuck, dang, this sucks. Like it's kind of depressing. I don't like to think about what happened there in real life.
Yeah, it's satisfying for the end of this movie, but when you leave the theater and you think about it, it's like, well,
that didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, if only, but no, it's not reality.
Yeah, it sucks. Now, I wasn't sure going into this movie as well. Like I said, the trailer had me, but then when we were talking about it beforehand, I was like, oh, I wonder where the violence is going to come in. And you reminded me that, Manson is in it, and I'm like, oh. I was like, I hope it doesn't glorify in any way the murders because those are real people.
Right.
And that sucks. I just imagine Sharon Tate's family or whoever else, if they showed any other murders and stuff, like those are real people. That's like awful. But it didn't glorify, and if anything, he saved them in his world.
Yeah, it didn't glorify Manson. He doesn't even have a part in this, really.
Really, like for being in the trailer, I thought there'd be more.
Yeah, in the trailer, you get this real. He kind of shows up at their house. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what I guess he knows the former. I mean, I'm sure this is all. I guess this is maybe what happened. Again, I don't know much about this.
Like
the Manson murders.
Out.
But he went there looking for. He knew the previous owner of the house before Sharon Tate and Polanski and this other guy that her old boyfriend or something. Is that what he was? Like an old boyfriend?
Yeah, he didn't live there.
Yeah, he was an old boyfriend. But he was like always there. There was like this trio. They were living in this house now. And so Manson does show up, but he's looking for the former owner. I mean, I'm guessing this is all really what happened. They targeted this house because they knew the former owner, I guess.
I don't think so. They wanted a public murder. They were going for a public star.
Maybe.
But, yes. I mean, there could be that connection of he knew someone in the house before, and then when he showed up and realized, oh, there's a celebrity here, maybe that's when he targeted.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people who, I'm sure, people who watch all these serial killer things and whatnot, and they know all the ins and outs of it. I try not to get too into that, so I vaguely know it.
Which is good. I'm glad that they didn't sell this Tarantino movie as like a Charles Manson film or Helter Skelter or something, because it's really not. Like I said, he's not in it. He shows up at the house, this guy, his old friend or whoever, acquaintance, doesn't live here anymore. Then he just leaves. He sees Sharon, waves at her, like looks at, gives her like a double take, and then he leaves. And then that's all you get of Manson, other than them talking about him. They're like, oh, where's Charlie? Or Charlie told me this, the one guy's like, that's what he told me, so are you calling me a liar? Yeah.
You see his followers more. I mean, they're the ones who committed the murders.
Yeah.
It was the followers. So the acting's amazing.
Acting's amazing.
That little girl, I love her to death.
Oh, yeah.
She made me think of Lisa Simpson. Like, it helps me picture Lisa in the real world. Like being that smart, like that's what it looks like. Okay, she's great though. The actress is great. And the character.
I don't know where Tarantino finds these kids, but there was a little girl in Kill Bill that was like really good. She was smaller than this girl. She was, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 or something, but she was really good.
I think that's one of my favorite scenes. Just this whole conversation with her in the book when he first meets her, and she says, "I stay in character," and like all that. Her introduction is one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, so if you know our videos or some of our reviews we've done, we sometimes we do them in the car. We didn't have we didn't want to be driving around with lights on anyway. It's dark, but I was telling her, I was like, I wanted to do this this review. You know, if we do it in the car like we normally do, I want to do it driving around, because you get a lot of that in this movie. Like the whole beginning is just driving around, like there's characters driving here or there. A lot of it could be cut out. I'll say that. That's one. I'll throw that out there right away. That I was like, but the reason I bring that up, so there's a lot of that in the beginning, and then there's like a scene where it kind of turns, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Now it's hitting its stride, and it happens just before the little girl. She's part of it because she's like the next step, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a great scene. The one before, where the first one where it hits its stride, is the Bruce Lee. Which is funny. I don't know if you really get the answer, but I had this thought. So there's always this question, like, who would win in a fight, Muhammad Ali or Bruce Lee? There, you always get that question. So Bruce Lee is doing this whole speech, how he would, what does he say, cripple Cassius Clay. Yeah. People ask him, they're like, what would happen if you fought Cassius Clay? He's like, that would never happen. It's like, but what if he did? He's like, he would be crippled. So that's when the Cliff speaks, or just laughing. He's like, he's just laughing. And then, there's a whole fight with them. Anyway, it's a great scene. That's where it kind of, for me, hit its stride. And I think maybe you felt the same way, because I kind of looked over and you were smiling pretty big.
It was entertaining. I mean, even just in that trailer, that Bruce Lee, when he's like, says that his fists are registered deadly weapons or whatever. If I kill someone, I'll go jail. He's like, well, no shit. Like, anyone accidentally kills someone, they go to jail. It's called manslaughter. Yeah. So it was already a funny scene, but just with all the extra to it. Yeah. Which
they actually fight, and Cliff actually holds his own well. What does he say? He's the guy's stuntman coordinator, Kurt Russell's wife shows up and yells at him. She's like, he's out here kicking Bruce Lee's ass.
Nobody kicked Bruce Lee's ass.
It's good. So that happens, and then a little after is the scene with the little girl, and that's great. And it's really good too. Just she's great, but also DiCaprio kind of playing this washed up guy. He's just like so emotional. Like every turn he's starting to cry or get choked up because he's kind of a has-been. I mean, now that we're doing this and talking about it, like, it's a big thumbs up, recommendation. Well, I don't know about big. Again, the beginning for me, I was like, okay, come on. I mean, this is a lot of setup.
It's really long. It's a really long movie.
That's what I'm saying. It could have been cut down. And I think it would have been great. So to me, maybe like Stranger Things. Follow me on this here. There was a few episodes there where we were really like down on these couple episodes, but the ending was really emotional, satisfying. That we give it a thumbs up. But in
other words, if we had binge watched,
if we just binge watched it, didn't really do like our videos, didn't really talk about it and think about it too much, probably would have been fine. We would have had the satisfying ending, and we would have been like, that was a good season. I mean, I guess we still think it's a good season, but we really were able to focus on these negatives.
I mean,
it was okay season. It still ranks low for us, where maybe we feel like people maybe hold it in higher regard just because they're thinking of the ending. So I'm thinking that's what's happening with me on this review. I'm thinking of the ending. You know, it picked up steam. It got going. We got a really satisfying ending. And that's what I'm going off of. Like I said, the beginning, kind of slow start. Could have... Have he cut it down some? I know. I'm a Tarantino fan. I know you don't want to mess with that. But he could have cut it down.
You know what scene went long for me? Because I'm trying to remember back. What even happens in the beginning? I'm thinking of like from the middle on. I'm trying to think what happens in the beginning. And there's probably some good stuff there. But a scene that was really like, this is going on too long. I don't like this. Is just that whole scene where they're acting, him and the guy speaking Spanish. It was interesting because he had already practiced the lines before. And he's all Spanish. He's speaking Spanish, and then he says his line. And so it's funny because we kind of know what he's gonna say already because we heard him practicing, and now we get the context of it.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of weird because it goes a long time before it even breaks, and I'm like, where are the cameras and stuff? I'm confused of what we're watching. In other words, it was kind of interesting, but went on like twice as long as I needed it to. I was like, ugh.
I agree. I know what you mean, and they probably should have just started in the saloon.
That's what I feel like.
Because there was a whole build-up before it where they were outside, and he was like talking.
If it was just in the saloon, and then when he goes to line, then it would be like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good scene once it hits that point. When he's, asking for his lines and he freaks out.
Yeah.
That
was all good.
But yeah, I know what you mean, and it would have. I think if they just started in the saloon, because that's actually in the saloon, is all that dialogue you see with him that you see him practicing. So you catch on right away. It's kind of funny just to hear it back that he was practicing with the recorder,
and then you hear the guy actually speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
Instead of just Spanish, like he's like Spanish from Jumbo, whatever.
Which is what's his name? Timothy Oliphant.
Who's that guy? Where's he from?
He was in The Office. Well, you would know him from The Office.
That's what I know from.
I mean, I guess there would be a big deal that Al Pacino's in it, but that's like the beginning. That was a setup that was I was kind of a little lost, and it was kind of like, whoa.
I forgot all about Al Pacino. Any of his scenes.
Yeah. Yeah, you would think it would be more. That's what I was getting in the beginning. So that's, now that I'm thinking back, a lot of driving. That could have been cut down. A lot of setup. This whole scene with Al Pacino, like it was happening and it was fine, but it wasn't. I was expecting the old Tarantino dialogue, like there'd be like snappy dialogue and it's just moving along and you're really interested in what they're saying. This is the beginning of the movie, and I really wasn't. I was like, okay, what's going on? What's happening?
I was just into my food because we just got it. It was like
that's who I was eating.
They were at a theater where you could actually eat food, so I was just kind of like. It kind of wasn't catching my attention, so I was paying more attention to my food, and finally I was like, okay, what's going on? Like, it kind of didn't, like, slap me into it, like, oh, I don't want to look down, I don't want to say that food's getting cold. It's just kind of...
Yeah, it wasn't until, I think, after they left, when that happens, where he starts to break down, and he says, don't cry for the Mexicans. That's where you get the whole Brad Pitt and DiCaprio.
That's funny.
That's where it kind of kicks off, at least with them, where you kind of get like, okay, get a little
their relationship,
and that's really what this movie is too. Overall, I think it's like a buddy movie.
Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, it's nice to see these two guys. Well, one guy. So, I guess at the heart of it, like I said, DiCaprio, he's really good job, and he's playing a guy that's just is a has-been.
Yeah.
But Brad Pitt, on the other hand, is playing a guy, same age, maybe older than him. Wasn't a big star or anything, but he's, just enjoying life. I mean, he may live in this little shitty trailer and eating mac and cheese, but he's still, just enjoying life and, appreciates what he has. So it's pretty good. I mean, there's a good
sweet little dog.
Dynamic.
Yeah, big scary dog.
Yeah.
I get so scared anytime I see an animal in a movie. I'm like, oh fuck, they're showing us an animal because it's gonna die. In this case, I was all, the animal's gonna die or it's gonna kill the shit out of some people.
Which it does.
And it does. Yeah, they didn't care in this movie about some dude beating some chick to death or nothing. Like, usually they hold off and, like, they had the Italian lady hit her at first and stuff. Usually they'll do stuff like that. Or they'll not show it, or they'll cut back. Nah, he kills the fuck out of them.
Yeah, and then so the one that the dog was just ripping apart. She's the one who gets loose and falls in the pool, which you get the DiCaprio finally. He was out in the pool
that
with
was
his headphones.
really hilarious. His reaction in the pool is all, like, oh yeah.
I better go get my flamethrower. It's a really satisfying ending.
It really is. It's like so awful and gory, and like it's awful that people are laughing at people being murdered, but it's like, man, I wish that happened instead.
You know what I like? I mean, that's great. So that, and I mean, the whole ending's great. So that happens, but I really like after. Like, I don't know, it's just I just like that's more like Tarantino dialogue that I really like. So after that, like, Brad Pitt's getting pulled on the stretcher, and, you know, he's telling the cops about what's happening, and, you know, it's just funny the way, you know, he's describing it. But yeah, then just that whole, like, you know, like I said, it's a buddy movie. He's like, oh yeah, I'll come down to the hospital and see you. And he's like, oh no, you know, just relax, you know, why wait in the waiting room? He's like, I'll be fine, just come in the morning and bring me some bagels. You know, I don't know, just back and forth. Shows their just their relationship. And
so I mean yeah. Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so then as a non-Tarantino fan, what do you say?
Well, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know though. It's hard to say. I mean, like, yeah, I recommend it. If you're someone who, like me, who doesn't like gore and stuff, I guess this is the Tarantino film to see if you don't like gore, because it's really not to the very end. You can enjoy a whole lot of movie before it gets to gore, and then when it does, like I said, it's satisfying. And, you know, I knew what was going on without having to look directly at it. Like, I hear a dog, you know, no, it's in my peripheral vision, but I know what the dog's doing. I get that, you know, I can see Brad Pitt smashing her face into things and whatnot, but I'm just not looking directly at the meat flying off the bone type shit, you know what I mean? Like, I'm seeing it, I'm just not seeing it. So, I mean, if you're someone like me, then yeah, this is the one to see. If you're not like me and that stuff doesn't bother you, then of course, yeah.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not completely perfect. There are some of those scenes that are a little weird, but then again, maybe they'd be better rewatching.
Yeah, overall, so yeah, I'm recommending it. I like it, you know, especially the ending. Overall, though, I mean, as a Tarantino film, it's somewhere in the middle. I wouldn't put it up there. You know, it's somewhere in the middle for me.
I'm trying to think between this and Pulp Fiction.
Well, yeah, I guess you only got those two to go by.
I don't know.
I mean, to me, I guess Pulp Fiction is probably number one.
Pulp Fiction has some weird things too, though. Like some weird scenes that are like, what? Like some of the boxing, Bruce Willis stuff. What's going on here? Isn't there like a whole cab ride or something?
That's always been, since I first saw it, I was always like, you need to cut this cab ride scene out. Like, if they
doesn't
did
even
that,
contradict stuff. It doesn't make sense.
I don't know. It's just, I mean, because Pulp Fiction is kind of a long runtime too, and if they just cut that, then you get like another 5 to 10 minutes right there. I always thought that, but that cab driver and that whole thing set up this other movie, which I never saw, so I don't know. But yeah, there's this other thing. There's this whole universe that he has created, which is kind of cool. So his universe is, you know, like he's rewriting history in his universe. All right, so that's it for us. We both recommend Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Go check it out. Yeah. Oh, and there's, I guess, a little end credit thing if you want to kind of stay for it, because I know the people beside us left, so they missed it. Yeah, but there is something if you want to stay a little. Just wait a bit, and there's a little something.
Yeah,
just
it's fun.
That up there.
It's fun.
So, well, I mean, I guess you've seen it. What is a spoiler? Yeah, we're at the end. You saw it, so yeah.
Wow, you might have walked out. Now you gotta go see it again.
Yeah, maybe so. All right then. So we're done. Recommended. Yeah, go check it out. Or actually, if you want to talk about Tarantino, talk about what we thought, or talk about, you know, some of our thoughts, respond. I don't know if we have had any questions on this. I don't know. I was saying
there's plenty of Manson stuff.
Yeah, if you want to give us some insight on some of the Manson murders, all that. Yeah, comment below. Remember, share, like, subscribe, and yeah, that's it. So, okay, we'll see you next time.